doomsday prophecy and end times, apocalypse, Armageddon, there are more and more signs for the upcoming reign of the Antichrist-Dajjal. We're used to talking about prophecies and predictions, and there are those situations when it's appropriate to indicate the signs of the day of judgment, especially now against the backdrop of worsening conflicts. The main Abrahamic religions, that is Judaism, Christianity, Islam, are united in the idea that all humanity awaits the day of judgment, when the familiar earthly world will cease to exist and the dead will be resurrected. God will reward the righteous and sinners for their deeds. The time of the end of the world and the day of judgment is known only to the Almighty, but the approach of these events is marked by certain signs. Are there signs everywhere? In the context of the aggravation of Palestinian-Israeli conflict and the Islamic concept of the end of the world, Qiyamat, people receive rewards for earthly deeds, and you can read about such retribution in the Quran and Sunnah, but of course no one will name the date of the end of the world. We can only talk about signs indicating the approach of the day of reckoning, Judgment Day. Thus, in the book of Abdur Rahman Abdul Khalik, it's written as follows: there are signs of the last hour, both large and small. Small signs of the last hour: a war between Muslims and Jews, the unification of Muslims and Christians in the battle against the Jews, and then a war between Muslims and Christians, which will end in the defeat of the latter. The last hour will not come until Rome is taken. In the Middle East today, we're witnessing a war between Israel and Gaza. It's a conflict that's been going on for decades, but today the aggravation has reached a peak as many begin to talk about predictions, prophecies, and the apocalypse. But is there much truth in such worries? From a religious point of view, we must always be prepared for the onset of the apocalypse, but obviously it's not worth bringing it closer. Let's pay attention to the context. If we turn to the secular rhetoric, a regional war in the Middle East has been a long time coming. The conflict was resolved for a long time and the parties tried to reconcile, but as we see, it didn't work. Not only the Middle East can blaze, but also Asia and Africa, Europe is slowly smoldering. The world has become multipolar. Countries are beginning to fight for their freedom, and as soon as the acute phase of the confrontation ends, the parties will be in a case to have to sit down at the negotiation table, and then we will get closer to building a new just world. But there's another context of what is happening related to the already mentioned signs of the approaching Judgment Day. Christians, according to the word of the Holy Scriptures, do not know and cannot know the time and dates of the Day of Judgment. There is only knowledge that it is approaching, and there are more and more signs of it. And we must admit that the actions of the authors of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict are one of the factors bringing the end times closer. According to Christian doctrine, Jews were truly God's chosen people until they not only accepted the Messiah Christ, but also did everything so that the Lord incarnate would be ended by terrible execution through crucifixion, publicly claiming his blood on us and our children, Matthew 27:25. It's no coincidence that already in the year 70 from the Nativity of Christ, the Second Temple of Jerusalem, which had turned from the Old Testament shrine into anti-Christian temple, was destroyed by soldiers of the Roman Empire, which was at that time still pagan, but according to the word of Apostle Paul had already become a catacomb, keeping the whole world from absolute evil and the very end of times. Thus did God curse the Jews for executing Jesus Christ, scattering them throughout the world. Now Israel has gathered to buy up, corner, and conquer lands for itself. And as soon as the third temple is erected in Jerusalem, according to prophecies, this will begin the end of the world, the beginning of the apocalypse. And since then, Christians and subsequently Muslims have been united in the eschatological judgment of the end times. They will come after the Jews build the third temple on the Temple Mount of Jerusalem, in which the Antichrist will reign. In the Muslim tradition, this is called Antichreist-Dajjal. But now on this mountain there are two Muslim shrines, the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock Sanctuary, without the destruction of which the construction of the third temple is impossible. And therefore, as long as the Palestinian Arabs, among whom, by the way, there are many Christians, prevent this, the reign of the Antichrist-Dajjal is impossible, together with the establishment of the Third Rome, which became catacomb back in the 15th century after the fall of the Roman Empire, better known as the Byzantine Empire. At the same time, according to many Christian prophecies, not all Jewish people will accept the power of Antichrist at the end times, and therefore it's no coincidence that some Orthodox Jews today support not the Jewish ultra-nationalist state of Israel, considering it liberal and godless, but the Arabs who suffer from it. Thus, there is indeed many signs, and there is only one conclusion: achieving peace is in the interest of each of all of us. And this is on Soul Ask. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.